Hey, greetings, everyone. It's Naomi Wolf and shortly Brian O'Shea. And we are here with our show in the Lair, Substack Live, and on all our platforms. We want to thank you for joining us, and it's exciting to be speaking with you. And this is a roundup of the past week with Brian and I just, sharing our views about it, drawing on our own experience bases, and sharing with you what we share with each other. So I chose one segment. Brian chose one segment, and there's a joint segment, which is the trip we just took to the United Kingdom. And I'll start with the segment that I chose. Obviously, this has been a week, more than a week, of horrible flash flooding in Texas and New Mexico. And we've been following the heartbreaking news. Over 100 people lost in floods, many structures destroyed. Our friends are tuning in. Hi, Autumn. In many houses destroyed, horrible scenes of whole homes just being swept downriver in floods that escalated by multiple feet in a matter of minutes. Some people are pointing out that this area has flash floods, and that's true. There have been severe floods in Texas, within the last 10 years. When I grew up in California, we knew that there were many desert areas that would suddenly have flash floods. You had to be very, very careful. They could come out of nowhere, hence the name flash floods. But also the extent of the intensity of this flooding seemed to other people watching this unfold to be somewhat unnatural or extreme. And then sure enough, not a surprise to me at all, because, I follow this issue. I've been following it since 2017, when I first started noticing weird trails overhead in New York City. And they looked at that time actually a different technology, because they looked at that time like almost like tiger stripes or like tractor prints in the sky. And I looked into it, especially when the bots and trolls sort of surfaced, when I started to explore, some of these images. I've always felt, since social media began to use bots and trolls, that when bots and trolls make an appearance and are very kind of intensely present, it usually means there's a story there. It usually means that major industries or the powers that be want to send public attention, of course, in a certain direction. So I definitely noticed in 2017 that when I started to investigate geoengineering and found out it was a very real thing, funded by the Carnegie Foundation, and institutionalized at Harvard, something called the Kreutz Group. A spearhead or a figurehead is a horrible, evil scientist named Dr. David Keith. The evil Dr. Gernot Wagner is his flunky. He's a commentator on Bloomberg, and he's sort of the public face of promoting geoengineering. And then I looked into it further and saw that Bill Gates was invested in geoengineering. Intellectual Ventures, the big VC company out of Silicon Valley, which invests in big biotech and tech companies, is invested in geoengineering. That these are technologies that are robust and mature. Then I read some legislation on BillCam, our legislative tracker. And sure enough, I saw that in bills that were bipartisan bills that were being passed, funding would go into developing these technologies of altering weather. And sure enough, the IP in the bill would be transferred to stakeholders, private stakeholders, meaning our tax dollars were developing the geoengineering technologies, but the IP, the intellectual property, the patents, the trademarks, the tools were transferred to the private sector. What a scam, right? We were paying for the development of technologies to alter the weather or dim the sun, technologies that then got transferred to the private sector, to companies invested in by intellectual ventures, the VC investing arm in Silicon Valley and other investors, making them more profitable. And then they got the IP using our skies to poison us. It was horrific and like a 360-degree scam with real outcomes, though. And then in 2017, I'm just going back a little bit to give you background to tell you this is a real thing. I saw that Harvard was sponsoring David Keith launching a weather balloon to release sulfates into the atmosphere. And this was called ScopeX. And they were really going to do it. And then I looked further and found on a website that scrutinizes these projects, and there are geoengineering projects all over the world, that in fact they were going to launch this experiment from a Native American reservation. Why? Because it's illegal. It was illegal to launch it over Arizona, which is the location of this experiment. So they sent it up from a Native American reservation. Of course, Native American reservations are not subject to the laws of the United States. And bingo. I had people online, like devoted followers online on Twitter at that time, saying, I'm in Arizona. I haven't seen the sun for days. There's white haze blocking the sun. I've never seen anything like this. What's happening? It's killing my flowers. It's making my animals sick. Please, Gernot Wagner, David Keith, tell us, have you launched ScopeX? Is this ScopeX? Are these your sulfates in the sky over Arizona? And I literally had Gernot Wagner on X and Molly, you're probably out there, Molly, listening. Molly, one of my followers on X, this nice older lady in Arizona. And I'm like, Dr. Wagner, please tell Molly, answer her question. Are these your sulfates? Has ScopeX launched over Arizona? Is that your spraying that is blocking her sun, killing her flowers, making her animals sick? And of course he blocked me, but it was eerie. Like, that was a very eerie experience, because I saw firsthand from the non-interaction, the willingness of Dr. Gernot Wagner to dismiss, not answer a real ordinary person, really in Arizona, really under his flight path, really begging for information. What is this that she's breathing? What is this that her animals are breathing? What's killing her flowers? And he felt utterly capable with, he indicated that he had the complete right to simply ignore her and block me. And that was very chilling, because I think up until that time, I thought, well, these elites, have some accountability if people ask them real questions. And I saw in real time, no, there was no accountability. I did mobilize Harvard alumni to put pressure on Harvard to stop these experiments. And I think that there was some blowback from the Harvard alumni. A lot of them are very, oriented toward the environment. But it didn't stop. And now we know. And then I found another program out of our energy department, our Department of Energy, in partnership with Exxon, also geoengineering. And then I learned the different technologies. There's solar radiation management, which is what ScopeX is doing, which is putting sulfates and other materials between the sun and the earth. What do you think that's going to do, right? I mean, I think it could trap heat. I'm not a meteorologist, but it seems odd to me that they're spraying everywhere right when they're making the claim that, world temperatures are out of control. Well, what does it do to create a blanket of cloud over the earth? Maybe it traps heat. I don't know, but it's certainly artificial and damaging. And the other thing that's obvious is that you can wage war by dimming the sun in some countries rather than others. You can hedge agricultural markets. You can make bets on where tomatoes are going to grow. You can short the tomato market in Mexico and then spray over Mexico. It's endlessly horrific what you can do with solar radiation management. Then there's a technology called marine cloud brightening, and they literally spray sulfates and other particulate into the pollution stacks, the air stacks already of of ships at sea. And then instead of those trails dissipating as they used to, they, of course, spread, come onto the shore. I suspect a lot of the reports of horrible whited out skies in Florida are a result of marine geoengineering from ships, because it's actually illegal now to geoengineer uh, over Florida. And Autumn says these are evil, bad people, authoritariopaths. I love that word. Evil people doing very psychotic, evil things. Exactly. Interesting. She says, think of solar blankets people put on their swimming pools to heat them. That's exactly what's happening. I would not be surprised. Then there are other technologies like cloud seeding. Again, these are very euphemistic terms. Cloud seeding sounds so nice. You're just seeding the clouds. But when you find out what it really is, in Australia, they actually fire um, fire substances from ground up into clouds to force them to become rain, to force rain to precipitate. And arguably, they do that to, create rainfall in areas that are too dry, that have crops, they need rainfall, but unintended consequences. And we know that there are cloud seeding programs all over the West. There are unintended consequences because think about clouds. I mean, I always feel like I can't believe we're having this conversation. Why is it weird to notice changes in the sky? But think about clouds. If you're older than 50, okay, you'll remember when cumulus clouds had very sharp, clear outlines, and people are hearting like this and thumbs up. Remember those beautiful, pristine clouds? You can see them still in classical paintings from the 18th century, the 19th century, all the way back to the 17th century, just magnificent mountains of puffy clouds, right? With very sharp edges. Well, think about American clouds now. That's very, very rare, that cloud formation. And even cumulus clouds now, tend to be almost frayed and not sharp edged. And I don't know what happens. I'm just thinking about hubris. Again, I'm not a meteorologist, but if you shoot substances into the heart of clouds, those delicate, delicate formations, over and over and over again, who knows what you're doing? Maybe you are weakening the ability of these delicate weather patterns to reconstitute themselves, right? And it's so clear that that's happened in the United States. I mean, I remember when I was growing up, a cloudy day would be dappled, like sharply dappled, light and dark, shadow and bright, and clear shadows. And now it's there, even when there's cloud and sun, it's dim, that it's not sharply dappled anymore. Autumn says clouds used to look like cotton balls or cotton candy. That's exactly right. And there are countries where they still do. But cloud seeding is violent, and they sometimes they fire right from airplanes or from the ground into the heart of clouds to force those clouds to release their water. Greg Hall says, haven't seen a clear blue sky for years. Exactly. And if you go back to Polaroids from the early 60s or movies from the late 50s into the early 60s, I would say right up until the mid 80s, I do this on true crime shows. It's very heartbreaking. You can see on true crime shows, they'll go back to archival footage of the same town from 40 years ago. And the sky is glowing, almost violet blue. It's so deeply blue, deep, intense, rich, sapphire blue. And the sun is golden. Well, now you see the same scene because they'll fast forward to the same town 40 years later. And of course, the sky, even when it's clear, is a milky, hazy, light blue, many shades different. And of course, the sun is silver. Who knows? I don't understand why the sun changed color. I'd love to have a meteorologist explain that to me. But the level of particulate in the sky is so dramatically changing what the sky looks like. And I'm sure that this affects human well-being. We can't see the heavens. We're not inspired by the majestic cloud formations, the depth of the blue. I mean, I remember just even on a clear blue day, looking up into the sky and feeling like you could see into space, right? In daylight. That is gone. And you don't know how much cloud seeding programs have done to destroy that. Lastly, wildfires, which used to be called forest fires. I found out that the cloud seeding programs and companies like PG&E, which is the West Coast electricity conglomerate, were engaging in cloud seeding, possibly so that they could fill the dams that then created power from dams, from water in the dams, hydroelectric power. PG&E was cloud seeding, and they were using alumina in their cloud seeding. Well, sure enough, alumina makes fires burn hotter. And in the same areas that keep having horrific fires in California, up and down, the Central Valley, down to Los Angeles, those are the same areas on a map that have been cloud seeded for years. So we're doing horrible things, and it's all, been legal, and it's right there in front of us. And I was very aware in 2017, 2018, as I was reporting on all of this, that there was a weatherman, a big weatherman out of Florida, and he seemed all day and all night to be available to say I was crazy. Like, he was a real person. I checked him. He had a real bio. He had a real show. And he would work on weekends, and he would work on Memorial Day and on Labor Day, saying I was crazy, 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 crazy. And I thought, this is really interesting. This is his full-time job. Like, someone gave him a consultancy just to say it's crazy to look into geoengineering. And that, reaffirmed to me that this was a real story. Well, I will share my screen now and go to New Mexico flooding. And can you see that? Let me see. There we go. Can you see that? I'm mastering the technology. That's not such. I don't know that. So flash flooding killed 3 leaves New Mexico village, heartbroken, anxious as cleanup begins. And there's been more flooding since then. This is a few days old. You can see those images, horrible, devastating images. The house swept away, and so very, very sad. Hey, Brian.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
I hear you great. I can't see you that well, but
Really?
Just fine.
How about now?
It's fine. I mean, we can use a little more light on your face.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a new computer, so I'm still working out the kinks.
Don't worry about it. So we were just, as you know, talking about cloud seeding and flooding, and now I want to show people the Marjorie Taylor Greene bill that she is proposing. There you go. So here you can see Fox News, Marjorie Taylor Greene is proposing a weather modification ban after the Texas flooding. And this is from July 7th. And so she's pushing a federal ban on weather modification. And this is Fox saying, echoing debunked conspiracy theories. And I literally don't know, this makes me so mad, how Fox can say such a thing, because there are multiple states now that have geoengineering bans. And also, 3 clicks into any research you do, you can see many, many solar geoengineering programs, many weather modification programs.
They can say that because the same reason that they wanted boots on the ground in Ukraine and Iran. Because as your research has shown, a lot of this cloud research technology, a lot of it falls into the Defense Department investing dollars, and that's one of their biggest advertisers.
Oh, wow. Well, that says a lot. That's really disgusting. Well, her bill is modeled after Florida's Senate Bill 56, which Ron DeSantis signed. which outlaws cloud seeding and weather modification practices, and fines people $100,000 up to 5 years in prison. And cloud seeding is an 80-year-old technology that involves dispersing particles of silver iodide into clouds to, quote, encourage rain or snow. And it's the silver iodide, not the aluminum, I beg your pardon, that is, causes wildfires to burn hotter. I wish that Marjorie Taylor Greene would post the actual bill or the draft bill, because I'd like to read it. But I just wanted to share with people that, that's a response to the speculation about what may have triggered these horrible floods in New Mexico and in Texas, or at least it made them better, or at least people are sick of seeing their skies wandering. And interestingly, a CEO of a rainmaking company has been making media rounds acknowledging that he was cloud seeding 2 days before the floods. Over to you, Brian O'Shea.
So we're talking about cloud seeding, and did you mention the trip we just took?
No, I was going to wait for the final segment for that.
Okay. Because that's apparently the wedding we went to is a fake wedding of conspiracy theorists. The what is it? The Mail Online or Daily Mail covered the wedding we went to as a staged wedding. That's what they called it.
Staged.
Hosted by famous conspiracy theorists, and I was a little disappointed they didn't mention you.
It's okay.
No, and they used my photo without a credit.
So, please ID who you're talking about, darling. Went to a wedding of who are the famous conspiracy theorists. Are we allowed to say, or should we do it?
Oh no, it's all. I've been saying it over social media nonstop.
Okay, so can you ID what we're talking about?
Oh, I thought you were going to say it. Oh yeah, no, we went to the wedding of Lawrence Fox, who is a storied British actor, then turned by the media into conspiracy theorist for committing the original sin of advocating for free speech. So he's facing some heavy charges in the UK, which has become a 1984 hellscape, and in terms of censorship and everything. And I got to give this guy credit. He's a friend. I really get a lot of inspiration out of him. He wears like MAGA hats and hats making fun of Keir Starmer to the court cases. He's got a wonderful wife who stands by him nonstop. She's a true warrioress, and a circle of friends that are just always by his side and always by each other's side. And we've been really blessed to get to know them on the Stein at Sea cruise that we went on this past winter, where we met everyone in person except for Mark Stein. We knew him, and that's how we got acquainted with that whole circle over there. So, but yeah, so Lawrence Fox's and his wife Elizabeth's wedding.
Yeah, and I'll just chime in there and say he is facing 2 trials, or charges, I should say, for 2 separate tweets that would definitely be First Amendment protected speech in the United States. But right now there are 12,000 people in Britain who have been arrested for tweets. And we definitely...
Darling, I just want to say your mic is kind of going in and out a little bit.
I don't know what to do about that, sweet.
I would just move it closer.
Sorry,
perfect.
We really felt that it was, like Stalin's Britain, or Starmer's Britain, in the sense that there's such bad censorship there. People are, one of the guests at the wedding, Alison Pearson, is a Telegraph, a commentator for the Telegraph, which is a major kind of upscale publication, kind of not a tablet, the opposite, sort of a higher end newspaper in Britain. And she's been covering the trial of Lucy Connolly. And I have that pulled up right here. I'm going to share my screen. And you can see this. This is the Guardian. This is another. And she didn't call for hotels housing asylum seekers to be set on fire. She didn't. And it's interesting that they don't put her whole tweet in context. She called for mass deportation now, which would definitely be First Amendment protected speech in the U.S. And she didn't say set fire to all the housing, all the hotels housing asylum seekers for all I care. I think the full tweet was, if they are set fire to, they could be set fire to for all I care. So she definitely did not call for violence. I mean, it wasn't, a polite thing to say, I suppose, but she wasn't calling for violence against human beings. And I just want to say that she had lost her 12-year-old, I'm sorry, she had lost her son. He had died before she had posted that. And so she was distraught from his passing. And she also immediately deleted uh, the tweet, and nonetheless, she's in prison right now for 31 months, and everyone's terrified in Britain. It's not just about Lucy Connolly, of course. That's not why they create test cases like that. They do it to scare everybody, and everybody is scared. So we were with Alison Pearson. The wedding was officiated by Calvin. What's his last name?
Calvin Robinson, Father Calvin Robinson.
Father Calvin Robinson, and he's also, seen as a dissident in Britain. Again, I don't agree with him about some of the things he says. He tends to interpret the Bible in a pretty patriarchal way.
I agree with everything he says.
Okay.
Calvin, keep going, brother.
And I really don't agree with the gesture from the week after one of his sermons got him in trouble. I don't think.
I don't think he. No, I'm going to jump in because I know what you're talking about, but literally, like, I went through after the media said that Elon Musk was throwing a Nazi salute and this person was. I literally found 100 different famous historical characters throwing the same salute, including Mother Teresa. So, you can, as a guy who, does surveillance and investigative work, if I go frame by frame through everything, I could shoot into a crowd and I could find a frame where someone's doing that, and I can mash those all together and say, oh my God, there's a crowd of Nazis in Salem, Massachusetts. So not to come down hard on you, dear wife, but if the legacy media says someone did something bad that's not on their own side, you have to really investigate it and put it in the context. Calvin was not throwing a Nazi salute.
Okay. Well, I mean, the first thing I want to say, big picture, is that even this is First Amendment protected speech in the United States. And when I was little, I was very moved about the example of Jews, including descendants of people who died in the Holocaust.
Oh, sorry, it's the neighbor. Hi, Gino.
Okay, marching in.
I was waving. That wasn't a salute.
Oh, I get it. That's funny. Marching in Skokie, Illinois, to defend the rights of Nazis, American Nazis, to march in Skokie, Illinois. That's how important the First Amendment was, that you had to go to bat for the free speech of people you hated. And I really admired that. But I still, as a Jew and as a descendant of people who did die in those ovens, I don't think this is helpful. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think the joke was funny just there.
It wasn't a joke. Seriously, someone can take you out of context right now from this video and say, oh my God, Naomi's throwing Nazi salutes for some cult called the Lair on her channel. That's the thing. It's I think if we give these kind of things that attention, that's exactly what the legacy media wants. And once it's said, especially with stuff regarding Nazis or pedophilia or anything, once you're accused of that, it doesn't go away. And I would just say you don't need to be Jewish to be offended by the Nazi salute. As a non-Nazi, as a Catholic, as an American, I'm highly offended by it. So I think everyone shares that, different levels, different, textures, I'm sure. But I think anyone who's not a Nazi is offended by a Nazi salute.
Yeah, but I love Father Calvin. That's the right way to describe him. he did make that gesture after, and in kind of quoting Elon Musk's gesture. And Elon Musk did it twice. And I just don't, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not.
Elon Musk was throwing his heart. What they cut out was the part where you take this and you throw it. The same thing Macron did the week before, but the legacy media didn't cover that because, of course, Macron was not on the side of Donald Trump. All of these accusations in the last 6 years are 2 degrees separated from Donald Trump or 1. I mean, that's all I'm saying.
I doubt it, but I'm just saying, given how, like, anyone with any knowledge of history would know that's.
I have lots of knowledge of history.
Maybe I'm not saying you don't. Would know.
What does that salute mean?
Would know that.
Originally, what does that salute mean?
You're going to say it was a Roman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but.
And why is the hand open?
Ballet?
I don't have a weapon.
I don't have a weapon.
It's actually, if you think about, I'm not highlighting it. The Nazis, they tend to steal things from history. Like the swastika, if you turn it around, means creation in the direction they have it flowing, and it comes from, I believe, the Far East. You'd see, you go to South Korea, you see things that look like swastikas all over the place, but it's going a different way. It means creation. They turned it around to have it mean destruction. So, and there's so many things that people don't even know that the Nazis kind of appropriated, historical things they appropriated. And I feel bad for anyone that stumbles onto those things in the course of doing a performance or something, because if they have enemies in the media, they can be like, oh my God, look, he's eating a cruller. Hitler ate crullers. He must be a Nazi.
So respectfully, darling, if I may, the filtering of Roman iconography to the Nazis went through Mussolini, who appropriated things like fascism itself comes from the Roman symbol of fasces, which are wheat sheaves bound together. And I'm sure that they, took the Nazi salute from Roman gestures. That doesn't matter to the point I'm trying to make, maybe, which is in a robust democracy, I think that even though the Nazis appropriated from Romans, it's still a Nazi salute, right? And it still has all of that baggage. And so rather than, wait, let me finish. This is in the Lair. You gotta let me finish. Then it's your turn.
She's in her own lair right now because we had an argument before the show. So I took all the time to set up in the living room here, and then she's in the other lair, and then she told me my lair looked messy. You do your lair, I'll do my lair.
Okay, well, here in my lair, I'm just pointing out that in a robust democracy, you can notice that something is really offensive and scary, right? Because that's, there is that trauma, that historical trauma, just like leaving a lynch, rope outside of someone's office. If they're Black, it's going to be scary, it's going to be traumatic, threatening, and you can say, I don't like it, please don't do it. That's not the same as censorship.
I totally agree with it. Your reaction is totally protected. Totally agree with that. Okay. But I'm saying, for instance, in the case of Calvin, our friend Calvin, which this came up in, I've got to ask, have you talked to him about it?
Well, I didn't think the wedding was an appropriate place to talk to him. But yes, I did, because I saw him before the wedding, and he had already gotten in trouble for this. And I'm like, speaking as a Jewish person, it's not necessary. I don't like it. I don't think people who are telling you they don't like it are extreme or out of control. Just, it's like I wouldn't he's biracial. I wouldn't hold up a lynch rope in front of him. Like, being in a positive, constructive civil society, you respect other people. You don't go out of your way to invoke historical trauma.
Really? You better talk to Steven Spielberg about that. Seriously.
I don't even get it. What do you mean?
Oh, haven't you ever seen Close Encounters?
Yes.
Yeah, they had the space Nazi in that one. Check it out. Oh, what? Oh, there he is. Look at that. They have Nazis in space.
It's not
Look at them, and they're just going with it. All those Steven Spielberg's Jewish friends are just going with it, going, "Oh my God, we brought in a Nazi."
This is more.
Look at him go! Look at him go! Boom.
Okay, you made your point.
Do I tap out, Naomi? Tap out.
Maybe you should tap out, sweetheart. You're gonna
Me?
anti.
I'm right.
No, baby, I don't think you're right. I don't think you're right. It's like
What am I wrong about?
I can't say for sure what that ET is really up to, A. And B, honestly, like we're laughing, but some things aren't funny. Like if you really live in a robust, free society and you know other people's history, I wouldn't make a joke about lynchings. I wouldn't. I wouldn't make a joke about, slavery. I wouldn't make a joke about the Holocaust. I wouldn't. And I will defend it as your right to make horrible, inappropriate, racist, anti-Semitic jokes. But, I would not want to live in a society in which you couldn't make those jokes. And for sure, Britain is suffering because people are so scared of what might come out of their mouths. But at the same time, I think we can have some respect for one another as Americans or people in any society that's pluralistic and say, hey, that was a horrible joke, or I thought that was too far. Like, I thought it was too far. That's all. I can say that. It was insensitive. Aren't I allowed to say that?
Yeah, no one's arguing that you're allowed or not allowed to say it. But I just feel like that particular gesture is so problematic because, I mean, like, I was being funny, but I was making a point. I could wave to my neighbor, and if someone takes that out of context in a snapshot, if you videotape anyone on the street who might run into friends and go frame by frame, you can take that out of context and slap it onto, a newspaper and say, this is a Nazi salute, and you are totally within your rights to say, I'm offended by that. But I think rights have responsibilities, and if you're going to say you're offended by that, I would hope that you would have reached out to the person accused of throwing that salute and saying, hey, do you actually throw a Nazi salute, or were you actually playing, handball and someone took a picture out of context of you? That's all.
I hear you. I always bring things up with people if I can, directly.
Well, changing the subject really quickly, I just got to point this out, and then I'll get on my subject, everyone, I promise, and I'm really sorry I'm late. Thanks for bearing with me. But speaking of Nazis, like, seriously, this is our former national security advisor. This is uncanny. I put this together a while back. I've been researching Jake Sullivan for a while, who totally works for the Chinese Communist Party, by the way, so he's probably not a Nazi. He's probably just a really evil Marxist. But this is like one of the top Nazi prison guards alongside Jake Sullivan's image. Watch this.
Oh my God.
Right?
Oh my God. Can you
watch
that?
Yeah, isn't that uncanny? Let me see.
I don't think Jake Sullivan is going to like this segment.
I don't care.
But that is weird. That is really, 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 really pretty weird, baby. Wow.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe there's just a small gene pool in Europe and they're just running out of faces, but I'm not trying to say all white people look alike.
What was that?
I'm not trying to say all white people look alike.
Okay. I'm getting off this subject. I don't know what's happening with you today. It's you can't say anything you want because you feel like a victim, baby. It doesn't work that way.
That was creepy. What do you make of that? There's no way to make anything of that unless you get into
I don't know. I mean, to be fair, that's he's got a really bulbous head, and I'm guessing he's balding, hence the comb over, which just happens to. But he just looks a lot like that guy. I mean,
it's weird.
He looks a lot like that guy, and I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things. I think everyone has
A doppelganger.
Don't get triggered when I say a doppelganger, but everyone has a doppelganger. You've got one, apparently.
Apparently.
Yeah,
Baby,
an angry Canadian lady.
An angry, hallucinating Canadian lady.
All right, well,
let's go on to whatever
censorship. Okay.
Your segment is going to be about migrants.
I mean, yeah, immigration. So I pulled up a bunch of headlines, so you'll have to bear with me. I actually took photos with my phone because I like the experience of reading the paper. And so I wanted to do it that way. But let me just share my screen. I got to share this window. There we go. All right. All right. So the first headline that I caught, just want to say that in training, AI to do surgery, please don't have AI do surgery on me. Apparently, it took out a gallbladder by accident in training. So I would say, if these things can't even drive their own cars yet, because they can't, let's not have them doing surgery.
They were supposed to take out something other than the gallbladder?
Let me enlarge this for you. So, all right. So, robot trained using ChatGPT software has performed a real operation. You can tell this is the New York Post. Real op to remove part of a gallbladder after watching videos and chatting to surgeons. But they, one of the problems they talk about is the language. Like, grab the gallbladder head.
Oh dear.
What if it doesn't hear gallbladder and grabs your head? Or move the left arm a bit to the left. Whose left arm? The doctor, the attending physician, who knows? But it's an interest. I want to read more about this. This is just a small, I love the New York Post, but sometimes they go for such abbreviations I can't really understand what they're writing about. Okay, so let me see, and I'll get to and excuse the order of these, but we'll get past that. That's an old one. Okay. Get past that. Okay, so to put it in context, this is the danger of illegal immigration or really lax legal immigration policy. They just discovered in Ohio a man who was like the planner for the Rwandan genocide, living there, sending his kids to school, great neighbor. I want to point this out because one of the main arguments the pro-illegal immigration advocates make is like, but he's been here so long and he pays his taxes and he's so nice. I bet he is nice. He doesn't want to go to jail or get sent back to Rwanda to get butchered by his own victims. So I just wanted to point that out. That was also in the Post as well. Okay, so we're getting to England, but I just want to point out that there is a story that everyone should check out from last week's New York Post, that even though they're shutting down illegal immigration supposedly in New York, and we did go out to the Floyd Bennett Field and all the tents are taken down and everything, but there's still the big shelter in Brooklyn up, and apparently this hotel that was housing them just got another $1 billion to house more of them going into the new year.
Wow.
So people need to keep an eye on that.
Why? I mean, is that just...
What is Mayor Adams thinking? He and his folks signed off on a nearly $1 billion contract with the hotel industry for migrant and homeless accommodations, even as migrant crisis abates and they close shelters around the city. Worse, the contract wasn't even competitively bid. Talk about sweetheart deals during an election year. I have no idea. I will say this story predates Mondami.
Right. You should sweetheart ID Mondami, please.
Right. Mondami is Mondami.
Maybe if you don't mind, I'll just...
No, I got it. I've been following this really closely. Zohran Mamdani is the guy who just won the Democratic primary, the mayoral Democratic primary in New York City. He is not a member, but he adheres to the principles, or he's part of an extreme Shiite sect, by his own admission, called the Twelvers. The Twelvers is the same sect of Shiite Islam that were all the people during the Iranian 1979 hostage crisis and revolution. They were all Twelvers. These are extreme people. what's interesting too is that he's backed by Working Families Party, which is openly socialist political party in New York City, and backed by pretty much every socialist organization you can think of. Like, this guy is, if he is a flame and socialists are moths and communists are moths, they just. But a couple things I want to point out. A, if you're an avowed.
About this deal or about Mamdani?
Mamdani, and he is, he's just. So, and yeah, I'm sorry. Let me get back to the thing. I'm out of practice, guys. I apologize. So, Mamdani, now, what's his, Mayor Adams is running as an independent against Mamdani. Why would he pen this deal? Why would he have this deal? I don't know. I mean, money?
Yeah. So maybe the hospitality industry gave him some big donations so he can run again for mayor, and they get this deal of $1 billion for housing.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think it might have just been money, for the sense of getting money, because, again, this predates the Mamdani thing. And he wasn't running before Mamdani won the primary, so now he's running in reaction to that. So this might just be a payoff. I mean, the guy's got legal bills up to his eyes, so who knows? But it's powerful friends to have, hotel and food and beverage industry in New York.
Yeah, especially New York. I mean, it's so heartbreaking because, as I say to my friends, my former liberal friends, and I still speak to them, they can't believe that anyone would object to endless illegal immigration. And I point out that when Brian and I are in Brooklyn, we live in a pretty, working class to poor, mostly Caribbean American neighborhood. And those kids don't have good schools, they don't have good food, the infrastructure is terrible, the libraries are undersupplied, the roads are bad, the elders are suffering. There's so many needs in Brooklyn for that $1 billion for Americans. And, a lot of the people who are very vocal about, Prospect Leopard's Gardens suddenly turning, Venezuelan full of cartel members are the elderly Caribbean American people who've been there for decades and decades. It's not a racist thing to say, hey, we can't sustain this influx of millions of people who are not part of this community, who are changing the nature of this community. We can't afford it. And Brian did some really exciting eyewitness, old-fashioned, firsthand reporting going down to immigrant centers.
Oh, the one in that FWC hall in Brooklyn?
Yeah, and
you went too. I dragged you there too.
I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. And what I will say, as someone who has traveled around the world as a journalist and been to a lot of refugee camps and refugee situations, these people did not look like refugees. They didn't look like any refugees I've seen anywhere in the world. They looked like military or mercenaries. What would you say they looked like? You said they looked like.
Yeah, no, it looked like it. I felt like I was in Mogadishu, and I've been there, and that's what it felt like. And I want to point out that FWC, so people know, FWC stands for Family Welcome Center. Naomi, how many families did you see there?
There were literally 0 families.
Exactly.
There were, I would say it was 80% male, maybe 20% female, but only, this is going to sound weird, only hot young women. I didn't see any non-hot, non-young women. They were all in their 20s. They were all far above average good looking, and there were almost no children, which is pretty creepy and scary. There were 0 elderly people, and that's not the way, real organic refugees look. There are always disabled people, elders. You don't leave grandma behind, when you're caught up in a real refugee crisis. And this did not look like that. What do you make of that, sweetheart, that demographic?
Well, just so people know what we're talking about. So this is what I shot with Ryan Matta and J.J. Carroll, who did a great documentary on this subject. But this is just near Williamsburg. So people that know Brooklyn, Naomi, tell them, Williamsburg's up in
very
like
yeah. I mean, it's Yeah, it's one of the most expensive, sought after neighborhoods in Brooklyn. So, it's definitely an unexpected thing to have this kind of facility in the middle of Williamsburg. And a lot of young women live alone in Williamsburg, a lot of vulnerable populations. But go ahead, honey.
So this is just so people know, this is right maybe 20 minutes from our house, which is not far in New York. That's like a mile and a half, 2 miles.
Although I shall stress, not nearly as fancy in New York. Go ahead.
Military age men, all of them.
This is a family welcome
Slow it
center.
down at all, baby? Can you slow it down?
Mm-hmm. I can't really slow it down, but I can pause it when you want me to.
That's okay. Keep going. But
As we go here, watch. You'll see the immigration or like the DC looking dude, or he's a city guy or he's some sort of government guy. But you'll see him. He pops right out.
But so far, we've only seen men, and we've only seen men in their 20s.
See him?
No, I don't. Oh yeah. Some sort of official. Yeah.
Okay, and again, this is right in the heart of people's neighborhoods, and I want to say at the end of this street, you have the NYPD guarding it.
Yeah.
It gets worse.
Not a single woman so far. Not a single woman. Everyone able-bodied. Yeah. And then you've got all these bikes and people sitting around on bikes. Like a huge, look at that huge assortment of bikes, as if they've been given bikes, which is interesting. So you can see people zooming around the streets.
And look, I want to say that, maybe this is 2023, and then in 2024 we went back. We had Hernando Arce. He went back. It was worse, and
Sweetheart, can you ID Hernando Arce briefly, please?
Yeah, I was about to. So Hernando is a good friend of mine. He's also a great investigative journalist, a field reporter, and he's over on LFA TV. But Hernando, he's a truck driver. He started just in his spare time going down and protesting outside the, there he is, right there. And he says, glad I left that city. But he's down there protesting the San Antonio stuff that was going on, and he ended up just reporting on it nonstop. So he actually went through there again, and I got to give the guy credit. He walked right through. We're driving by, shooting video from the car, and he just walks right through the middle of this thing. So that's Hernando there. You can follow him on at Hernando Arce, ARCE. What you're seeing there, Naomi, I don't know if you could see that. That was the
illegal alien women from vino por CBP1 or vino por la frontera se
the airfield.
Ask her who she's going to vote for.
Facebook is a CBP1.
Hernando.
Una pregunta. ¿Le gusta más la señora Kamala Harris o Donald Trump para presidente? Kamala Harris. ¿Y por qué?
I don't know if this is.
I just want to see if this is a part where the guy comes in and he has all this fresh groceries to make ceviche and gourmet food in his immigrant shelter. So that's Hernando right there. He's bold. You see he goes right up to the entrance. He doesn't care. He's yelling at the guards. Love this guy. But the point is, he went there and it was worse. And he was asking the police why are they guarding this street? Why are they doing this? And that place he's at that I just showed you, the Floyd Bennett Field, that's adjacent to that is the NYPD Vehicle Training Center.
Wow.
Yes.
Adjacent to it? Oh, wow.
Adjacent to it. So when I went there the first time, I was a little nervous because I didn't know that. And there were all these helicopters swooping over me. Like, damn, they got some. I thought for sure, okay, this is an actual foreign military base. Then I realized what it was. But, that's going to keep a lot of people away from reporting on it, except for people like me and Hernando. But the thing is, there's so much illegal activity. And not only that, I think the saddest thing, you'd mentioned poor people and poverty earlier. Well, Floyd Bennett Field is at the end of Flatbush Avenue Street, our street. It's at the south end of it. And it's really poor down there. And so what was happening with Floyd Bennett is these illegal aliens who are supposed to stay on that camp they were allowed to come and go as they pleased. And the first thing they did at Thanksgiving is they went to all the churches and they got in line at 3 a.m. and they took all the turkeys. Yeah, that are normally reserved for the local residents who are very poor. Of course, church isn't going to turn anyone away. And then there was a lot of reporting, a lot of crime reporting happening that said basically they would knock on your door begging for money. Now, granted, they get a Sodexo card for like $5,000, but then they were going to the local population to beg for money, and while the person answers the door, the other guy's in the back robbing them, coming in the back door and robbing them.
Oh my God, how awful.
Yeah.
Well, so let's bring it up to the news for this week. There was a migrant story involving Britain and France. When we were in Britain, can you update people about that, Stephen?
Yeah, absolutely. So people understand the EU is open borders. And I know you all know this, but the UK is no longer part of the EU, at least on paper, ever since something called Brexit. What's been happening is the UK has had just record number crossings of the English Channel by illegal aliens into Great Britain. The last 6 months marked their highest ever. Now, at first, I was thinking like, wow, that's quite a journey from, Africa or Somalia, and I was thinking, wow, maybe they earned it if they made it all that way. But then what I realized was they're not coming from Somalia; they're coming from France.
Oh wow!
So they're loading right up on the shores of France, and then they go right across the English Channel. So now the UK is having to deal with France, and they have this one in, one out policy, which I don't even really quite understand it, but basically, and they're allowed to send back 50, as they say, migrants a week will be sent back to France. Trial of one in, one out asylum deal set to begin deporting 1 in 17 people arriving via the Channel. Here's my stance on that. Keir Starmer, I know you were born with a pair. You might want to reach down and grab them because, that's your shores. That's your country. Just stop the boats. You don't have to ask France's permission to just stop the boats. Now, I know people pop and say, oh, no, but France, they started cutting the boats. No, that was all performative. So what happened last week, right before Macron showed up at the UK this past week while we were there, they did this big show of the French police storming down to the shore and hacking up a boat, and it was totally staged because that's not even the part that they launched from. The cameraman had a great angle, but they show the French police cutting up the boats. This was on July 4th. So while that was happening, I found other footage that showed, unfortunately, I'll spool it up on my own show, but I found other footage while that was happening. You have the French Coast Guard escorting a bunch of their illegal aliens, escorting them so they can make it into the English Channel safely for their voyage across to England. So the thing is, for some reason, France is just letting it happen, in my opinion, and now playing on the fact that they know Starmer and most of the parliament are a bunch of, nanny boys. They basically are playing on that. They're like, okay, well, you can only send back this many. It's like, they're yours. Send them back, and if they won't go there, send them somewhere else. Send them to Italy if you want. I mean, seriously, the EU has open borders, and England's small, and we could see this. And I think the big difference I picked up with the anger that's in the UK, and you could see it.
Yes. And
everyone I talked to across England, because we were in London, we were in Rye, we were in Suffolk County, everyone I talked to from the
Sussex.
It was Sussex?
Sussex.
You sure? I thought it was Suffolk.
I could be wrong, so I didn't go.
Okay. All right. But anyways, that British county we were in. Yes. Everyone I talked to, so in London we stayed in a very high-end area, so I'm talking to people when I go shopping and everything, more upper middle class, totally against the illegal immigration, no matter who I talk to.
Really?
Yes. when we stayed in a caravan park, which is like a trailer park for tourists. A lot of English working class will go out there to these trailer parks, and that's where they have their seaside vacations. And I really quite enjoyed it. But I was talking to those people around there, and they're just like rolling their eyes, like, oh, it's unbelievable. And the problem is that the benefits that the illegal immigrants get, even in England, they make more than someone who's working a full-time job in some cases.
Unbelievable. Sweetheart, do you think the upper middle class people you met in Islington would be willing to tell other upper middle class British people what their views were, or were they just confiding in you?
No, they would, because when I was in, I went by a coffee shop one afternoon, and they were talking to each other, and I just kind of did the ugly American thing and kind of butted in. They were talking to each other about it.
Right. Well, we've run out of time, sadly. So I know it went so fast. So what's your conclusion about where things are going to go with Britain?
Here's my conclusion. If Starmer wanted to stop this, he could. Again, just, just sink the boats if you want to. But the thing is, or just stop them. But the thing is, he's letting them in, and the fact that so many want to come in to the UK of all places. I mean, Europe's a big place, but why make the journey all the way to the EU and keep going to the UK? It just doesn't make sense unless it's being encouraged, and that tells me there are financial incentives for them to come in. The Brits they don't force the construction companies to do background checks on subcontractors. And then, of course, the biggest employer of these illegal immigrants are the food and beverage industry. So you saw it, Naomi, all of the Uber Eats. Yep. And so they're driving that, and we know that's the case because if you go to the Tent Partnership or tent.org, it is on their webpage. They have a partnership with the U.S. State Department and several other countries. This is being encouraged, and it's being driven by the kind of like the food, beverage, tourist industry because it's cheap labor. It always comes down to money. So exactly. Where's it going to go, and why does it matter? I think is a better question. Why people ask me, why do you care? Why do we care what's happening in the UK? Screw them. They're making the bed they're sleeping in the bed they made. Well, here's the thing. It's easier, and I could be wrong, but I'm guessing it's probably easier to get into the United States, to immigrate to the United States if you're from the EU or from the UK. Well, the thing is, by the time 6 months goes by in the EU, they're citizens. And the UK, it's like 12 months. Yeah. So who's really going to be coming in? It's a hell of a lot easier to get like a working or a student visa if you are from the EU or the UK to come into the United States. So if you flood the EU with illegal immigrants, a lot of people from countries that I would consider our enemies, 12 months is not a long time for them to filter into our country through legal means, which means then we can't even get rid of these enemy combatants that are taking position all across our country. So remember, guys, the reason why the UK is so vocal about it, and people are out in the streets marching and everything against illegal immigration, the reason why is a small country. They can feel it now. It's in their backyard. And I would say to all Americans, this is not over. It's slowed down, and they've done a good job under the Trump administration stopping border crossings down south, but they're still happening up north. People are still flying in the way they were. They make them citizens in these NGOs make them citizens in Colombia and these other countries, and they fly in as citizens. So you have to stay on it, because if we wait until it's in our backyard, that means there's so many here because our country's so big that it's going to be too late. So it's something to definitely keep your eye on. And I would say definitely follow Ryan Matta, JJ Carroll, and Hernando Arce. You can find them on my feed and myself.
We have to go. Where can people find you?
And people can find me at brianoshea.substack.com or at brianoshea.spi. And of course, investigate everything. Just go to dailyclout.io and see all of our shows. And you'll find mine there that will link you right to the Rumble channel.
That's right. Thank you for joining us. I'm so happy to be in the Lair with you.
Bye, Naomi.
Bye, sweetheart. Even when we Scrap and Tussle. It's still fun in the Lair. And you can find
Did you get the joke?
Not really. What was it, sweetheart?
Bye.
Oh, that's horrible. Oh,
I was just waving. What are you talking about?
that's the worst. Okay.
And you waved back.
Terrible. Oh my gosh. So, and I am at Naomi R. Wolf on X, and you can find me also on Daily Clout and on Substack. I'm Outspoken. We're on Substack Live every Friday at noon in the Lair, and also please support
Watch
our
those hands.
What's sweetheart?
Watch those hands. You see?
Please support our sponsors at getnativepath.com/Daily Clout. And it's so good. And you really want to support them. And of course, the Wellness Company at twc.com/Daily Clout. And
Absolutely.
thank you so much. And we'll see you next Friday. Take care.
See you next Friday. Bye.
Thanks, sweetie.